Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing Destiny 2. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and salutations. Today, dawn is coming. Let's get to it. Now, I think we've all seen the trailer for the Season of Dawn and what that entails. More importantly, how many people saw this clip of the guy getting 7 kills, and you just know some people were thinking, man, I can't wait until I get 7 kills. And all the people that have been in the Rusted Land from D1 are rubbing their hands and saying, let's go. All right, so the Season of Dawn is officially starting December 10th, and that means that the Vex Offensive is going away. So if there's anything in the Vex Offensive, any of the weapons, if you're trying to get a certain role or a particular type of weapon, now is the last time that you'll have in order to get that. Additionally, if there's any triumphs or that undying seal that you want to get, this is the last time that you can get it. After this season ends, it'll be gone. All right, so Season of Dawn is replacing the Vex Offensive with the Sundial. Now, looking at the roadmap, we see right off the bat, unlike the Season of Undying, the Season of Dawn will have the Sundial day one, which is probably a good thing because everyone's pretty much everything's rote as far as, nightmare hunts and all that stuff. So I think people are ready for a new activity, and the Sundial is it. Now, additionally, we also have obelisks. And how these obelisks play into the Season of Dawn, we don't really know quite yet. Now, initially, on December 10th, we'll have the Tangle Shore and Mars obelisks will be open. Now, a week from then, so December 17th, Nessus and EDZ obelisks will be open. And way out in February 4th, the Empyrean Foundation will be available. Now, what these have to do with the Season of Dawn and what is going on, we won't really know. It may be a public event, something like the Vex invasions on the moon. It may be something else. It may be a location where we can find hints as to how to help bring Saint 14 back. It's all very interesting. Now, looking at the season pass, we of course are going to see 2 tracks, the free track and the premium track. Now, right off of the bat, we're going to be able to get on the premium track the new exotic Symmetry, the scout rifle that you saw in the trailer, taking out 7 Guardians in the Rusted Lands. Now, on the free track, you can still earn it, but it'll be further along, so you'll have to wait longer in order to get your hands on it if you're only on this free track and you don't have the season pass. Now, the season pass for each season, so Season of Dawn included, will be $10. So if you did not get the annual pass, you can get the seasons ad hoc. So if you want to play Season of Dawn and you want to experience everything that Season of Dawn has to offer, you can get that $10 US, of course. And I believe that you can still get the annual pass for $25, so you get a $5 savings, but you have to pay, of course, up front. Now, looking at the season pass, we have, of course, the new relic, the Lantern of Osiris. We have new emotes, we have new armor, we have new materials having to do most likely with the Sundial. We have a new finisher, the headbutt. We have new ornaments for the armor, new transmat effects, of course, a new bright engram. Nostalgic engram was the old one, and now the next version of the engram is coming, and what that is, we don't really know. Will it be things from the current season? Will it be things from Season of Opulence? Will it be things from year 1 and year 2, or just year 1? Or maybe a particular season, season 6 or season 3. We'll have to wait and see what that is in particular. Now, looking, of course, continuing on with the seasonal rewards, we have a whole bevy of different things that we don't really necessarily understand. Of course, there are going to be buffs, either XP buffs or some kind of scavenger where we get a certain weapon more often, doing a playlist activity. as we have seen in the current season. And then, of course, maybe we get more likely to get a scout rifle out of the Crucible or something like that. There's emotes, there's resources, there's weapons that will probably only drop from the Sundial or possibly even from Mercury activities that will come out of the season pass. Of course, we have upgrade materials, both the planetary resources, enhancement prisms, and as you're going along, ascendant shards, but of course those are at the higher tiers. Now, as we've seen previously in the current season, I should say, it wasn't very difficult to get to season rank 100 on that season pass. And in fact, it was necessary to get minimally up to 100 to get any power out of that artifact. You get the power pretty quickly at first, but then it starts stretching out. You might get 3 or 5 or 7 levels of power out of the artifact in the first week, and then the next week you get 3, and then you get 2, and then you start getting maybe 1 per week. And you realize that rank 100 is really only the beginning. If you're trying to get up to plus 25, let's say, on the artifact power, then you are going to need over 300 season ranks. And you say, whoa, that's quite a bit. And that is nothing compared to the 40 or 30 that people have done in the season of Undying in order to get up to 1,000 power. You're talking about over 1,000 ranks. So the season rank rewards are just a kind of bonus, I would say, as you're going along and playing. And that is going to be potentially the first couple weeks that you're going to go through those first 100. And that is the beginning of playing the season. Because as we've seen in the current season, the maximum power or the hard cap of 960, as the power currently is, was not enough to do those pinnacle activities which required 980 or recommended power of 980. So you would have to be at the max 960, and we've seen how difficult that was in the beginning, and they have changed it so it should be a little bit easier to get to that max power and then use the artifact to fill in the gap. Now, they still haven't said what the power level is going to be, what that cap is going to be for your gear drops. Like I said, 960 is the current. Will it continue to be 960? Will it be 970? Will it be 1000? Will it be 1010? Unfortunately, at this point, time will tell. So going with the artifact, we look at the artifact itself and see that the artifact has changed. Both the mods that you can get out of it and the way that they organized it. For the Season of Undying, you had the first column, which only had, glimmer and resources from different sources, and you had to choose one of those before you could go on and do anything else. Now you see that all the weapon mods are in that first slot. So all the unstoppable, anti-barrier, overload. Now those are in the first column, which is good because those are the ones that seem to be more important. But of course now you're talking about bows, pulse rifles, scout rifles, and it looks like overload still on the auto rifle. So hand cannons are now off the menu, as well as submachine guns and mainly auto rifles, although like I said, looks like there are still overload rounds for auto rifles. Now the second column, we have a enhanced linear fusion targeting mod, as well as unflinching and, of course, enhanced loaders. Now these appear to be about a half to a third of the normal amount required as far as energy goes on the armor in order to equip it. So the artifacts are going to be more useful. They're not going to take up as much energy. Now the third column is what the first column is in the Season of Undying. It's all your resources, your glimmer or planetary resources, depending on which ones that you choose and which ones that you equip on your armor. Of course, those will require 1 energy apiece, so it does take up some space somewhere. And then you have the last 2, which of course are the ones that give you kind of a little bit more power. You can feel a little bit more powerful as you're going through. Now, you do need 7 unlocks before you get that first mod in that 4th column. And then, of course, you only get 2 choices in that last column. So, unlike the Season of Undying, Season of Dawn, if you don't want any extra resources, if you don't want any extra glimmer or what have you, then you don't necessarily have to choose anything there. You can have everything up to before you get to that 4th column in the first 2 columns. So you can have all the different mods for the weapons, for the bow, the pulse rifle, the scout rifle, etc. Anti-barrier, unstoppable, overload. And then you can choose two of the either targeting or loader or unflinching mods, and then choose, if you want, 3 from column 4, and then of course you can only choose 2 from column 5. The only one that talked about so far is the Guardian Angel in the 5th column, which grants a chance, so there's RNG involved, to generate healing orbs for you on Scout Rifle, Sniper Rifle, Bow, and Linear Fusion Precision Final Blows. So not only do you need to use particular weapons, but you need to have this mod on a piece of armor. It requires 4 energy, and it only gives you a chance to generate a healing orb. Anyone that's played the Nightfall with Attrition, where you have those healing wells, I imagine it could be like that, where maybe you're not getting anything on any kills, and then other areas you might be getting healing orbs left and right. So RNG can be a cruel mistress, and it could make it very, very difficult to make these mods work for you and make it worthwhile to have these particular mods. Now, going into the actual Season of Dawn, we see that we're going back to Mercury. Osiris has contacted us and said, look what you did, you maniac. So go into Mercury. So we're going to be dealing probably with Brother Vance and Osiris, but mainly we're going to be worried about the Cabal and what they're doing with the timelines and how they're trying to use time to affect the course of events and change history. And this, of course, brings us to the Sundial. The Sundial is going to be very much like the Menagerie. Of course, even if your whole team wipes, you can continue to go along. The only difference is, of course, how long it takes you to get from the beginning of the activity to the end, where you get the loot, that sweet, sweet loot that everyone is clamoring for, or will be clamoring for, December 10th in the Season of Dawn. So during the reveal, we see that it has that little meter on the side of the screen that every time that you complete an objective, it goes up a little bit. And once you get to the maximum, then you go on to the next activity. If the time runs out, then however much progress you made gets added, and then you go to the next activity. And you keep doing that until that meter is completely full. Once it is completely full, you go on to the boss phase. Looking back at the roadmap, it looks like there are going to be 4 different bosses that we're going to have to worry about in the Sundial. Now, whether they will be rotating after their initial appearance, or whether it will be like a daily rotation, a weekly rotation, or you're only able to do so during that week of the reveal. So December 10th, we have Nerul, the Hollow Voice, as the boss. The next week, we have Ozlat, the Sky Piercer. And of course, that looks like a flare. Or maybe they're all flares. And then the 24th, which is the following week, we have Tazarok, the Sun Eater. And then way down February 4th, we have Inotam, Oblivion's Triune. And that one, easily we can see as being kind of the undying mind of the Season of Dawn. That final boss that we need to beat over and over again throughout the timelines. Eliminate him in order to eliminate the Cabal threat. So it'll be interesting to see whether there are specific drops for specific bosses, or whether it is all RNG, what you get, or if there is some sort of artifact or piece that you can interact with that will give you a higher chance of getting a particular drop. like the Chalice in the Menagerie, or like the Lectern for the Nightmare Hunts, where you get the essence and you have to do certain activities and find certain things and do things in order to get that Dreambane armor or certain Dreambane weapons. Or is it going to be like the Vex Invasion, where there are certain weapons that you can do certain things in order to get them, or get them as drops as you're going along? So again, only time will tell with those things. Now, January 7th, we have the Legend Sundial, which is like the Heroic Menagerie. So unlike the normal Sundial, the Legend will require a pre-made team of 6 Guardians. So again, you're going to be running off to either your clan or LFG in order to find people in order to complete this particular activity. So unlike the Vex Invasion, where you were always matched with other people, the Legend Sundial will require a pre-made group. All right, so going back to the calendar, we'll just go over real quick. We have the Save the Legend, which of course refers to Saint 14 on December 17th. So the second weekend, we're going to be able to do that. December 17th to January 14th. So right about 4 weeks, we have the Dawning, which we might be baking cookies again. We'll have to see. Iron Banner is coming back December 24th. We have the Exotic Quest for Devil's Ruin on January 7th. Now, this does look like a combination of sidearm and hand cannon. So maybe there's a way to switch modes between the sidearm and the hand cannon, or maybe it double fires. It'll be interesting to see what exactly that is all about. January 28th, we have the Exotic Quest for the Bastion. Very interesting looking gun. And of course, the Symmetry, which I've already mentioned, will be in the Season Pass. And then we have Crimson Days from February 11th to February 18th. That is only 1 week to get those activities completed. Now, like the Season of Undying that focused mainly on Void and Arc, the Season of Dawn is going to focus mainly on Solar. So when you are doing activities and while you're playing, you're going to notice that the subclasses for some of the Solar subclasses will be updated. So they came back around and said, hey, some of these subclasses are underperforming, some of them are overperforming, so we're going to make modifications in order to bring those into line to make them viable choices and not make them the only choice. Oh, and I almost forgot the biggest news and long overdue. You'll be able to use your Sparrow on Mercury. Lastly, I want to talk about the Season of Dawn mods. Now, like the Season of Undying, those armor pieces, the Dreambane armor, the Substitutional armor, Iron Will armor, and the Garden of Salvation armor, that 4th slot has a Season of Undying slot where you can put any of those Season of Undying mods, either mods that drop out of the raid or the Nightmare mods. And those, of course, will help you in the raid and the Nightmare, respectively. Season of Dawn has a Season of Dawn mod slot. So let's go over those mods just really quickly. There's going to be a new mechanic either in the Sundial or in Free Roam in general, or around those obelisks, being charged with light. And these mods are going to change how that happens and what happens, or how you get charged with light. So the first one is Precisely Charged. Become charged with light by getting multiple rapid precision final blows with linear fusion rifles or sniper rifles. It costs 1 energy and subtracts 10 discipline from your score. Empowered Finish. Become charged with light by finishing a combatant consuming 1/10 of your super. So it seems like all of these have a plus and minus to it. So you become charged with light, but it takes part of your super, or it takes some of your discipline away, etc. Shield Break Charge. Become charged with light by breaking an enemy shield with the matching energy type. High Energy Fire. While charged with light, gain a bonus to weapon damage. Each defeated enemy consumes 1 stack of charged light. So you can increase your weapon damage, but once you defeat an enemy, one of your charges will disappear. And this costs 4 energy. So the better mods, the ones that actually do something for you, are going to cost more and consume those stacks of light. And we have protective light. While charged with light, you gain significant damage resistance against combatants when your shields are destroyed. This effect consumes all stacks of charge of light. The more stacks consumed, the longer the damage resistance lasts, and you get -10 on strength. So 2 energy cost. Normally when you're critically wounded, when you're in that flashing red zone, that is when you lose your shields. If you have charges of light, then the stacks will help protect you from dying, basically giving you an increase in damage resistance. So this would be similar to activating your super previously before Shadowkeep was released, where you had Masterworked armor, where you would get an extra 25% damage resistance in addition to your damage resistance when activating a super. They, of course, have since toned that down significantly, where armor no longer gives you any resistance other than what you put onto it. And of course, there are a few more mods to be had, but we'll just have to wait and see and find out what that is all about when Season of Dawn is released. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check us out on social media, and thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you next time.